very much. Welcome to Hashtag Reality with Ashley. Today we are here in Bogosberg. We'll be in conversation with a former member of parliament, also a party leader of BLF party, who is currently sitting next to me by the name of Andile Mngxitama. Mr. Mngxitama, my name is Ashley and this is Hashtag Reality with Ashley. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. President. I'll be calling you Mr. President during the interview for the fact that you are a party leader of BLF party.
That's
so
fine.
Welcome to the show. May you introduce yourself, then after that we'll proceed with the business of today. Yes. Or maybe I can say, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ashley, for inviting me to your program.
Yes.
My name is Andile Mngxitama, and I'm the president of Black First Land First.
Okay, is that?
Yeah, and I'm also a scholar of Black consciousness.
Okay.
You can see behind me, that's actually my book there,
okay,
which I co-edited with other people called Bigo Lives.
Okay.
And I also, for a long time, was a publisher of a journal called New Frank Talk. Some copies are up there.
Okay.
So I am hugely involved in the project of Black consciousness.
Yeah.
Steve Biko is my intellectual leader.
Yeah.
I consider him one of the most important thinkers of the 21st century,
Yes.
20th century. And we are trying to update his thoughts,
Yeah.
to help build consciousness to counter the white hegemonic project.
Okay, Mr. Mngxitama. Thank you very much for articulating those points, but I do believe that we're going to unfold while we're busy with the business of today. But now, as a party leader of BLF party, so Mr. President, I just want to ask you, and I want you to tell us the importance of land and why should land be given to the rightful owners.
You cannot understand why Black people are poor today.
Yeah.
White people have all the wealth. You cannot understand why Black people are in the townships, live in squatter camps, or Black people live in the former homeland system, which is 13% of the land. If you don't understand the land question. Black poverty, Black exclusion, Black weakness in general is a consequence of land dispossession. We are a Black majority today with democratic rights, but we are powerless precisely because we are landless. You know, I always make the example of Bafana Bafana. Bafana Bafana will never succeed because they are territoryless. A national team represents a national territorial expression. Without territory, you are landless. So Bafana Bafana is a team of landless people. And that is why even in its play, we find that those kind of weaknesses. And that those weaknesses are true for the entire Black nation. We are weak, we are divided, we are easily deceived, we hate each other, we hate ourselves. And the source of all that is landlessness. That is why our movement says put Black people first and address the land question first, and everything will be okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President. So politically, who groomed you?
I was groomed as a high school student by Percival Gugushe. I come from Potchefstroom. I was born on the farms of Potchefstroom in Northwest. And then I went to my high school in Ikageng, where I met this man who had just come from Robben Island. Percival Gugushe. And he inculcated Black consciousness very aggressively. You know, he was giving me material to read. Every Sunday we meet, we review that material. He was training me ideologically to be sharp and to be clear about what Black consciousness is, where it comes from, and what it wants to address. So that is my political mentor, Pasi Gugushe, when I was in high school. Then I went to Soweto to live with Khotso Siatlolo. Kgotso Siahlulo is number 2 after Tsietsi Mashinini in terms of the June 16 uprising. So he also there honed further my black consciousness. So, you know, when I first read Biko, I was like blown, away by how clear he was about things I had just felt, but was unable to articulate.
Yeah.
So Biko gave me the eyes and gave me to see and gave me the language to express the black problem.
Is that all? You said this. You mentioned his name. You said this.
He's Percival Gugushe.
He comes from South Africa.
Yeah.
Is a South African?
Yeah.
Gugushi.
Gugushe, yeah. It's actually a Xhosa name.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that Gugushi is a surname.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. President. That's quite interesting. So, what is your future plans about South Africa?
Well, my dream is to see black people in control of their country and their destiny.
Yeah.
We are a black majority, but we are a powerless majority. We are a majority even in parliament, but we are unable to address the land question, for instance. Showing that parliament is a useless institution in the face of white power.
Okay.
You know, and it's an indictment on us as black people because, you know, white people created a fake majority by excluding us from the political process so that they can control parliament. And then they made laws to address their problems, to address their issues.
Yeah.
Using the political tool. Politics and political power is the answer to our problems. And we do have the numbers. We just don't have the agenda and we don't have the ideology. That is the problem.
That's the problem.
Yes.
Yo, Mr. President, I like how intellect you are. So I just want to ask you, I want us and the people of South Africa to understand your educational status. What do you have in terms of education, in terms of like qualifications?
I studied at Wits up to a master's degree.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm now talking to someone at Wits. I want to continue with my PhD.
Yeah.
I did a master's degree in sociology.
Yeah.
And I also, in my research for my master's, I actually addressed the land question. I researched a community of Maboi in Limpopo. They had a land restitution claim. I looked into why over such a long time they were unable to get back to their land and the overlapping claims and the difficulties of a judicial problem of trying to address a political problem. Land question is a political problem. Yeah. White people took our land, then they made laws to legitimize our land dispossession. The 1913 Land Act was a legitimation of our land dispossession. And that's why in 1913 they said they take 87% of the land and confined us, the black majority, to 13%. And they made it into a law. And you know, the ANC was formed to address that issue.
Yeah.
But of course, the ANC got captured by white people by 1955. When he adopted the Freedom Charter, it was a white party already. That is why even today, the ANC is unable to address the land question. Oh. In 1955, the Freedom Charter, they surrendered the land rights of black people because the Freedom Charter, the first sentence, it says, South Africa belong to all those who live in it, both black and white. In 1955, how could you give white people our land in 1955 when we were landless? But the Freedom Charter confirms the land rights of white people. Says South Africa belongs to all who live in it, both black and white.
ANC is the majority party in South Africa, Mr. Mngxitama. Mr. Mngxitama.
Yeah.
So, actually is a government. Like as you said now, like we as the people of South Africa, particularly we the black people, actually we must forget about the land, because I'm saying this from what you just said, because you said ANC, it will never address the issue of land. Actually, they are wishy-washy in terms of land. So we as the people of South Africa, we must forget about the land.
Yes.
For the fact that our government is led by ANC.
That including opposition parties, including the EFF. You know, in 2015, Julius Malema went to Paarl, which is not far from Stellenbosch. He addressed white farmers there, 2015. You can go check it. It is in the Afrikaans News 24 version.
He was wearing a white shirt.
Yes, I don't remember what he was wearing. No, he was wearing, I think, a khaki type thing.
Okay.
But he was, 2015, he was addressing white farmers in Paarl. He said to them, EFF does not want to take your land. If your land is productively used, we will not take it. We want unproductive land. So today, there's a land expropriation bill. And that bill says land that must be expropriated is abundant land, over-indebted land, and state land. So the same thinking which excludes land in white hands find expression in this bill. So ANC, EFF, they all believe in the Freedom Charter, and that is why they will not be able to address the land question. Sobukwe, who formed the PAC, left the ANC because of the land question. When the ANC said in the Freedom Charter, South Africa belongs to all who live in it, but black and white, Sobukwe said, no, this is selling out. How can our land now belong to the settler? Belong to the colonizer? That is surrendering our birthright to the colonizers. That is why, because the ANC believed South Africa belonged to all who live in it, both black and white, in the Constitution, Section 25 of the Constitution basically guarantees the land rights of white people. It protects their property. That's why sometimes it's called the property clause. And it says, when black people want land, they will only get it through buying it, and only if white people are willing. It is called the willing seller, willing buyer process. So we, to get our land, it is in the Constitution, Section 25, guarantees, gives our land to white people. And the ANC signed off. And our parliament, as it stands now, is unable to address that issue because the main political parties are controlled by land thieves. Those who have our land control those political parties, and even their fights are superficial, a meaningless drama to confuse the masses.
Okay. He is releasing the files on #Reality with Ashley. His name is Andile Mngxitama, the party leader of BLF. #Reality with Ashley. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you press the button of bell. You also comment on our channel. Ladies and gentlemen, is also a party. No, like as I said, is also a party leader of BLF. Mr. President, why did you form your own political party, BLF?
When we got expelled from EFF, we looked at the available options, and we felt strong that there was a gap in terms of building a radical black-only political formation. We follow Steve Biko's black consciousness, and Steve Biko formed the blacks-only organizations. And we thought to address the South African problem, again, we need to build on black consciousness, build on Steve Biko's ideas to counter the white hegemonic project. South Africa, the problem is white racism, is white power. And the answer to that is black consciousness, black power, to defeat white power. If you don't understand the problem in those terms, you're going to be confused and played around. You will be chasing Zuma, chasing the Guptas, chasing the Kwerekweres, white people giving you false solutions all the time because you don't understand what is the fundamental problem. The fundamental problem in this country is white racism, white power expressed as white monopoly capital today. And until we address that, black people will remain excluded.
That's all. Okay. So I want to understand something from you, like as you said, actually, why you were expelled from EFF? Wow, you were expert.
There's many reasons, but they needed to clear us out because they were going to London. They knew that we will not accept that project. They were already talking to international investors.
You were with who? The time you were being
Well, it was me and Mam Lynchfield Shabalala, in particular in the leadership, who were very clear about our black consciousness and our Pan-Africanism. And she was expelled even before me.
Okay.
She was also
Mom?
Lynchfield Shabalala. She was also in parliament.
Okay.
Very, very powerful person. Very, very powerful leader. Yeah. Principled. Pro-black, pro-African. So, you know, these guys, man, they were just moving to the right.
Yeah.
They went and amended the founding manifesto of EFF. They removed the Sankara Oath. We put in the Sankara Oath. That was the reason when we joined them, we said, you must bring in the Sankara Oath into the policies of the EFF, and that is the basis we joined. The Sankara Oath says, black political leaders must use public services.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, they went to PAL to sell the land question out. Then they went abroad where they met in a secret meeting with Robin Renwick. Robin Renwick now is a shocking guy who was sent by the Queen to negotiate in Zimbabwe, was sent by the Queen of England to go negotiate a settlement in Namibia. He was an ambassador here under apartheid, Robin Renwick. They went to London to go meet with Robin Renwick under the Chatham House rules, which are secret rules. If we meet under Chatham House rules, it means that we cannot divulge the contents of our meeting. Even today, no one knows what happened in that meeting. We now have seen in the pictures that in fact South African, what I call activist capitalist, Rob Herzog, a big Stellenbosch mafia, was in that meeting. Because all they sent was a picture. We didn't know at the time, but this guy, Rob Herzog, a big Stellenbosch mafia guy, was in that meeting, and we believe he's the one who organized it. And three things happened out of that meeting. Also, that explains the right-wing shift of EFF. Firstly, they agreed to work with the DA. Secondly, they attacked Robert Mugabe. They said he was old, he must resign. And they even attacked Nelson Mandela to say he was a sellout. Those are the three key shifts that happened from the London meeting. And then we saw indeed in the subsequent local government elections, the EFF called the DA a better devil. And that was the process that started in London to create the coalition politics we have today, where normalization of working with the DA was planned there. And in 2024, you will see in next year election, it is possible that EFF and DA might form a government. It is very possible. Don't discount that possibility, because they've already shown that they can work with the DA. And the DA is a party of white monopoly capital. Also, part of that right-wing shift, which made sure that we kicked out, you saw the attack on Zuma and the Guptas. Zuma and the Guptas were at war with white monopoly capital. And the EFF joined the hand of white monopoly capital to fight and defeat both the Guptas and Zuma. So we had no place in the EFF because of our pro-black radical politics. That's why they kicked us out.
Okay, so you said EFF is willing to work with DA. It might happen in the next election. But then where do they once show that they can work together?
I mean, it happened here in Joburg. In the Joburg Metro, the DA ran the Joburg Metro as a consequence of being supported by the EFF. The DA ran Tshwane as a consequence of being supported by the EFF. Also in Ekurhuleni, the DA ran as a result of being supported by EFF. So EFF has shown that it can give the DA political power.
Okay, Mr. Mngxitama, you said white people are not allowed. They are not even welcome to take part. They are not even they must not even bother themselves to come close to your political party. Why?
As we say, we follow Steve Biko's teachings. And Steve Biko says the problem in South Africa is white racism. It's white power. And it benefits all white people, including those who claim to be comrades. Because South Africa is a racist country. So, if the problem is white racism, it's white power, how can we include the creators of the problem in the solution? It is not possible. The solution is black power, which must defeat white power so that we can get liberation for black people. That is the teaching of Steve Biko, and that is what we follow. And that is why I will not allow any white members in our party. There are white people who are progressive. There are white people who see our position. There are white people who are even sympathetic to what we are doing. They even say, if I was black, I will join Black First Land First. But they have a theoretical understanding of our problem. They are, however, not absolved from benefiting from whiteness. They are beneficiaries of apartheid, of colonialism, and continued exploitation of black people, including white children who are born after 1994. They all live well. Their life standard is massively different from black children. And they are beneficiaries of colonialism and apartheid. They live well because black people are excluded from the economic benefits of this country.
Okay, so but Mr. Mngxitama, are you not using that agenda just to create the impression to the black people? This one of saying white people are not welcomed in your party. Like you are serious on this one, and like you are 100% sure that even if it can happen or you will never.
No, it is we are black consciousness. We follow teaching of Steve Biko. Steve Biko, when he was a student, initially was part of an unracial organization called NUSAS, where he was there with white students together in that organization. He left the unracial progressive NUSAS to form the Black Consciousness Movement, which was very clear it's for blacks only. Now you can't claim to follow Steve Biko and fudge this issue. And it comes from an understanding and reading of the South African problem as one of white racism. White people arrived here. All the problems that me and you have even today are created by white people actually. If they did not come here, we will not be poor. We will not have all this crime. We will not be put in the township, live there as subhuman where we step each other.
But do you think we as the black people, were we going to be able to say, okay, here must be a mine, here must be a factory?
You know, my brother, what black people have forgotten is the fact that the first universities on earth were created by black people. White people got education from us. We, black people, are the creators of civilization.
Before you go further, what's the name of that university?
It was in Timbuktu. You can Google it. The first university was in Timbuktu. Timbuktu. Yes, in West Africa.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
And also in Egypt, the whole black civilization there, if you go look at the Egyptian civilization, you will see that white people, the Greeks, who came to bring mathematics and philosophy and so on, they were our students in our universities. We created even modern medicine, come from Imhotep. In Egypt, we taught white people civilization. They were eating raw flesh, living in caves, when we in Africa had universities.
Okay.
So it is a missing link in our knowledge system, which, when they've stolen our knowledge, banned our universities. By the way, they did burn them down. In Alexandria, they banned massive libraries, precisely trying to erase the fact that we as black people were higher civilization.
So that they can be able to introduce their own educational system.
Of course, they messed up everything, including the Bible. They messed up everything. They doctored things to favor them, to appear that they are thieves. The white knowledge system is based on theft and distortion. We are the first mathematicians. We taught them what they know, but they erased us.
They made reintroduction.
Yes, and they claimed all that. It's part of the white colonial mindset. The white mindset is that of appropriation, of thieving, of taking over things and erasing blackness. So check Mapungupi. If you just Google Mapungupi, you'll see that there's that golden rhino. You can see that we were smelting gold. We're at that level, and this is classical civilization. We're smelting gold and we're trading with the outside world. We're already able to actually navigate the sea, the oceans. This is long before apartheid even.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so the fear that black people don't have knowledge is part of the colonizing factor, where they make us doubt ourselves, where they de-linked us from knowledge, they de-linked us from ourselves, they de-linked us from our land. In South Africa today, just to show you the de-linking process, when the news item comes and it goes to economic indicators, when they talk about the value of the gold, we switch off television. Because the value of the gold markets are so de-linked from us. That gold does not belong to us anymore. We don't benefit from it. We are alienated from it. Therefore, it's irrelevant. That is true with most African realities. They have cut us out from our reality. South Africa, 80% of platinum in the world come from South Africa, but me and you know nothing about platinum. We're not even interested in the platinum situation because we are de-linked from it. It is no longer our property. It belongs to a white minority. That is true with the knowledge system. All that knowledge system was taken away from us. We were turned into slaves. They took us here into the Americas, where they put us next to an ox. They made us subhuman. And we've forgotten who we are.
There is more to come. And we're here now. Okay, Mr. Mngxitama, ever since you formed BLF, which province is showing your party a massive support in South Africa?
We have support in KwaZulu-Natal and in Gauteng. In the northwest, it is limited to the Potchefstroom area. We have a sizable support there. Then the third important province would be the Western Cape, where again there's a bit of support there. But our biggest support is Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal.
Okay, but then when we look at the world of information from the netizens, there has been a rumor says Andile Mngxitama is the one who wrote EFF manifesto. Is that true?
Yes, it is true.
Okay.
I wrote the bulk of that manifesto. I was working very closely with Floyd Shivambu, who's a very smart guy, a very hard worker. We had very good working relationship, but the majority of that document was written by me, including these elements of the Sankara Oath, which they removed. And I also wrote the whole section of Fanon, because they did not understand any work of Fanon. So I brought in the Fanonian aspect into that founding manifesto.
But we saw DP's been addressing the Fanons in some of the events?
Yes, they learn.
Oh.
Just like Sankara didn't know about Sankara. Julius Malema didn't know anything about Thomas Sankara. I introduced Thomas Sankara to him. When we discussed, they were just Marxist-Leninists from the Communist Party. We brought in Fanon. Yeah. Why? Because Fanon is a black thinker. We brought in the black aspect.
Yeah.
And Fanon to check on the limitations of both Marx and Lenin, who were thinking about the white reality. Yeah. So we brought in Fanon, informed by black consciousness. That is why their ideological framework is supposed to be Marxist-Leninist Fanonian.
Yeah.
Fanon was there to check the two white men to make sure that the black project is fully supported and expressed.
So like as you said now, do you personally, do you have relationship with the commander-in-chief and then other members who are in the executive on economic freedom fighters?
No, there's no relationship whatsoever
between you and the CIC.
No.
Then what about Flo Chibambula? I guess you just said he's one of the intellect person.
No, in fact, he is more hostile towards me than even the CIC. Because you see, there was a bit of competition. Because I was seen as an intellectual and he wanted to claim that space of being an intellectual.
To claim that space?
That is Floyd. Floyd hated me more than Julius because I was seen as the intellectual of the party and he couldn't stomach that. In fact, I think that he must have instigated Julius to fire me, actually.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us more about this matter because it seems like there is more. Okay.
No, I mean, that is true. I mean, yeah, he was very hostile towards me all the time, even when I was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mr. President.
And let me just say, I worked very well with Julius.
Yeah.
Something that I will tell you also about Julius. Julius is super clever.
Yeah.
He's super smart.
Yeah.
He's got a photographic memory. He remembers everything.
Yeah.
And he reads people's very well.
Yeah.
There was a problem with some young woman comrade. When I spoke to him, he quickly understood it and he fired her.
Who's that woman?
No, I won't say it.
No, this is hashtag reality with Ashley. We are unfolding your political date. We want to hear everything.
No, that's fine. I don't want to mention it. But yeah, she was the first spokesperson. If you can Google there, you will see.
Moon Summit.
No, that's not that one.
That one. She was a secretary.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was a very good comrade. Also, I worked very well with her. She was also very smart.
But then, who's that lady? What's the name of that lady? The people of South Africa want to know that lady.
No, I won't mention her name.
Okay, but then proceed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no, I was just saying that Julius is a very smart guy.
Yeah.
He's a genius politician.
Yeah.
And part of my attraction towards him was the hope that we can seduce him to become a radical revolutionary leader. But he's too compradorial, he's too compromised. He loves the good life. He's been corrupted by Brett Kebble's people and looked at the life of Peter Mokaba, who was also a very fleshy guy. So he's trapped into the material world of conspicuous consumption. You know, I mean, his watches, his houses, his clothes. He is what Fanon called the comprador. The people who took over after colonialism, they're highly corrupt, they highly, in their consumption, I mean, they drink the expensive whiskeys, they want the high life, that kind of thing. And that traps them. The enemy is able to control them, and they will never be able to change the situation of the people.
Okay. So Mr. Mngxitama, if it happens that Mr. Mngxitama, if it happens that you become a South African president one of the good days, what's the first thing you as a president of South Africa, you will change in South Africa to bring a better life?
The first thing that will happen is to declare South Africa the land of black people. So you will not buy any land anymore.
Yeah.
for your housing, for your sports, church, agriculture. South Africa will belong to black people, and those who need land will simply apply, just like you apply for an RDP house, and you'll and then we will make sure that we support people on land. You know, people don't know that South Africa agricultural sector does not employ more than 600,000 people, doesn't?
Oh.
Yes. A mining sector, I think they are hovering at 400,000 these days. And we believe that mining should be employing over 5 million people. Land could employ over 6 million people. We can address the unemployment problems through these two sectors alone. Our agricultural sector is controlled by about 7,000 white farmers. The entire agricultural sector. It is highly mechanized. It is highly ineffective. And it is also using genetically modified organisms which destroy both the soil and poison the people. The maize in South Africa, bourgeois, bohobe, is 90% genetically modified. So it means we are being fed poison. And that is why our people are so sick. We are unwell because of the unwell staple diet, which is created by the racist agricultural sector, which is controlled by a minority that doesn't care about our wealth, our health. It cares for profits. And that is why they went into the genetically modified organisms. South African agricultural sector is very, very bad, but it makes lots of money. And of course, they export some of the best produce to Europe. When here we have food insecurity. A third of South Africans is poor, it's considered poor. It cannot eat regularly, but the bulk of agricultural produce is exported for money. So our agricultural sector is not designed to address our food security. And then, as we say, the mining sector is highly inefficient, just like the agricultural sector is highly inefficient. And we can address these things through massive redistribution and support and training. White people men solved the white poverty within 20 years because they made sure that their government provides for white people. You know, even retarded white people used to be supervisors in the railway industry. And the government provided housing and education and healthcare, quality stuff for them. This is what we must do.
That's quite interesting, Mr. Andile. So, what is white monopoly capital? Can you make us understand so-called white monopoly capital?
White monopoly capital is basically describing the fact that white capital has monopolized the economy. In other words, white monopoly capital represents the white minority which controls the economy. And that is why it's called white monopoly capital. They're monopolizing the economy. They're owning the economy all by themselves in the exclusion of the black majority. And they've therefore become the ruling class. Owning the economy means they own the banks, they own the land, they own industry, they own everything basically.
At the center of the means
of production. They own the means of production, and they therefore the ruling class. Parliament is irrelevant because the ruling class is white, and the ruling class controls parliament through money. That is why there will be no land expropriation without compensation, because all the main parties in parliament are controlled by the same land thieves, and therefore they'll just talk about land expropriation. They'll find excuses to disagree. They'll never address the land expropriation.
On that bill, there will never be any amendment.
They are bringing some amendments now, again. That idea that I said Julius shared with white farmers to say, we will expropriate land you don't want, abandoned land. This expropriation bill says the same, that they will expropriate abandoned land, over indebted land, and some buildings which nobody uses. And even state land, how can you expropriate state land? The state own only 14% of the land in South Africa. The majority of land is in white private hands. If you want to expropriate and expropriate to address the land question, you have to expropriate land that is held by white people. But this bill does not do so. It's a joke. It's a little bit like drinking beer without alcohol inside it. It's just, you will not get drunk. You can drink how many gallons.
So we as the majority, we are owning how many percent on the land? We as the black people. Black people own
14% of the land.
14% of land.
Yeah.
That's what is owned by the black people.
Yes.
So, Mr. President, I heard everything from you, but so some people should say you are now politically destroyed. And then if you come across that kind of question, what would you say on that one?
Well, just like the black majority is destroyed.
Yes.
In fact, the majority of people don't even vote, by the way. In South Africa, if you look at the number of voters versus those who actually vote, the majority don't vote.
Yeah.
The majority are poor
Yeah.
and excluded, just like us.
Yeah.
And so we belong to the majority, which is in the margins.
Yeah.
And our message is always curtailed. The media make sure that it projects us as crazy, as unthinking, as angry, with no ideas.
Yeah.
But it is part of trying to discredit us. We believe we belong to the future, not the past.
Proceed, yes.
Yes. So, in a sense, what we are saying is that the future belongs to Black First, Land First thinking and Black unity. And that's why we're working with other political parties such as the Land Party and the ATM. We are hoping to get a front towards the 2024 elections. We'd like to go to these elections with those parties. And there's talks already happening amongst leadership towards that reality.
Okay, based on that, so is that true that you are currently working with ATM to come together as one party? African Transformation Movement.
Yes, I've had preliminary meetings with the president.
Yeah.
I have reported back to my movement.
President
Yes, Vuyo Zungula.
Okay.
A very good man, a very sharp man, a very principled man.
Yeah.
Somebody that I can work with, even as my leader. I'll be happy to do so.
Okay.
Yes.
So if it happens that indeed it succeeds, what kind of position you will lead on ATM?
No.
DBT or what?
No, I mean, I hope that we are discussing the representation in Parliament.
Yeah.
So Black First, Land First will be there, ATM will be there, but we will probably go to Parliament under the ticket of ATM, but I will just be on their party
Under
list.
the banner of BLF.
BLF will exist, but in Parliament will be represented as ATM.
So which means you are 100% sure that, like it or not, next year you are going to be a member of Parliament?
We're working towards that.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Okay.
If through this modality of working with ATM and others, we're still unable to go into Parliament, it will be my last year in formal politics. I'll get out of formal politics. I will stop being a leader of BLF. I will just go back to university and try to get a job there and teach.
Next year or?
Yes, next year.
If things don't go accordingly. Oh, but it's a painful story.
Well,
others, particularly to your fan and followers, the members of BLF. So what's going to happen with them? Or you will give them a mandate to go and join ATM?
No, we will have a conference. We will discuss these matters. And I will also listen to what they say. But from my point of view, it will be the end of my political active participation.
But then why you just want to have this kind of decision now? Why? You have that kind of mind of saying, okay, I escape from politics. I'm no longer going to participate on politics. Or maybe you're going to be a political analyst in Vets.
Yeah, a lot of people, of course, claim that I'm a better political analyst than I'm a politician. So, yes, no, I think that it will be a natural process.
Yeah.
But I will not be lost in the political scene of South Africa. I'm an activist. I'll remain very actively involved in the politics of radical transformation and Black consciousness. I mean, that's my life. I cannot retire from that.
Okay.
I will be active until my last breath.
Okay, that's good. So, is there any municipality that has a BLF councillor in South Africa?
No, we don't. We tried, we were robbed blind.
Yeah.
Both in Lesedi and in Potchefstroom. We believe we had enough votes to be represented, but the IEC calculated wrongly, we believe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sure. So even in KZN, like as you said, is one of the most provinces that is giving you a support. You don't even have a mere councillor.
No, we couldn't. And also remember, in the last elections, I was not available.
Yeah.
I was sick. I was in hospital for 3 months. During the time of the elections and so on, I was not available to provide leadership and so on.
So besides leading BLF, what are you doing currently in South Africa? Besides leading BLF as a party leader?
No, I'm looking after my health. That's very important. I am just now getting 100% healthy. And I'm also talking to the university to register for my PhD. But the big job is to build BLF towards 2024.
Yeah. So besides leading BLF, you are no longer, like you are not even in businesses, maybe in something else in South Africa?
No, I'm just finishing my book on the EFF.
Okay. So that's what, Mr. President. How did you feel the time your party was deregistered?
No, I think we expected it, and it was a demonstration of the fact that in South Africa, Black radical politics are not accepted.
Yeah.
If you say Black, you're going to be criminalized, you're going to be hated, you're going to be excluded, you're going to be ridiculed. So we were not shocked that in the instigation of a racist white party, the Freedom Front Plus, the Freedom Front Plus represents white people but doesn't want us to represent Black people.
Yeah.
And so that is why we say in South Africa there are two authentic forces. It is Black first, land first, with its Black radical politics, and white parties who represent whiteness. And then there's all these other people who are confused. They don't know where they stand. But white people are clear. They know where they stand. And they know that if Black first, land first get the kind of support that it can get, will represent a threat to white interests. And that is why Freedom Front Plus went to court to make sure that we were excluded from the elections. White people understand the mandate of Black First, Land First. It is only Black people who, by the same white people, are made to be confused about what we stand for.
No, I hear you. So what kind of the message would you like to send to those who have an idea of forming a political party or to form? Yeah, what kind of the message?
Please don't form any more Black political parties.
In South Africa?
No. What we need now is unity.
Yeah.
What we need is one big Black bloc which can counter the white agenda. We need Black unity. We need one single party, one voting point. In fact, I'll be very happy to see the PAC and AZAPO coming to the party to form an alliance with the ATM, and we vote in the same bloc. All Black parties must belong to the same voting bloc, and we must articulate a minimum program of liberation